Here is Don Tequilas, who's called Julio in the barn, and he is a 16 two-hand 5-year-old thoroughbred gelding by Speedster, and he's out of a Union Rags mare. And he is a super, super thick, chunky, right off the track racehorse. He's stick 16 too, a little bit over probably. He actually won't let me. He doesn't like the stick, which is not uncommon. Some horses don't like the stick. He's definitely at least 16 2. I wouldn't be surprised if he was 16 2.5 hands because he has such a huge presence about him, and then he's just so big boned and sort of thick bodied on top of it. So he gives the feel of a horse that's more like 16 3 or 16 3.5 hands, even though he's not quite that tall. But he's definitely at least 16 2, a big 16 2 hands. And this kid had 20 career starts, so very average for a 5-year-old. And his last start was on July 12th. And he's been here for exactly a week. He's had a handful of rides. I believe this is his third post track ride. And actually, I was just thinking as I was watching back this video that I should really have Billy ride him because I bet this horse will just look stunning in Western Tack. And I bet Billy will do a lovely job with him. So maybe that will be up next. So here you can see obviously he's distracted by something. I think he's looking at my blue tick Annie, who's like rummaging around looking for rabbits in those barrels, which is why I lost his attention there for a second, but it's just no big deal. So in this ride, so now I've ridden Julio a couple of times, so I know him a little bit better, so we can have a little bit more, we're like kind of past the meet and greet. We're having a little bit more direct conversation about the things he does well and the things that need improvement. And of course, when they're green beans like this, there's tons of things that need improvement. But he also does a lot of stuff well. I mean, the horse is extremely simple and quiet brained. He's funny because he has this huge, goofy personality, and you might think that because he's sort of so just comical and he's very much like commanding of attention, that you could think that maybe he's like going to be a lot of horse to ride, but actually it's so the opposite. It's so funny to me how exactly opposite of what I would think is what it is. He's very simple to ride. You absolutely get to put your leg on and squeeze and kick and cluck the whole time. He does not want to go any faster than you'd like him to go. Although that being said, I actually found him to be more easily forward for this ride and the ride I had on him yesterday, even though we didn't get any video of that. I think he's just a little bit more at ease now. It's not his first ride anymore. I'm sure that they're all nervous when they have their first post-track ride here and, in a new place and they're unfamiliar with all the things. I just expect them to be nervous. Whether they show that to me or not depends on the horse, but I'm sure he was. And I think that his way of internalizing that nervousness was actually just to be a little bit lazier than normal and almost kind of like holding your breath type of thing. And he's definitely exhaled over the last couple of days, and he feels much more easy to send forward, and just he's breathing. He feels confident. He's making a really nice shape in the bridle. He actually, I mean, when he makes this shape here, it feels just absolutely lovely. He just feels like a big, beautiful horse, which is also how it looks as I'm sitting here watching the video. But he's very soft in his mouth. He absolutely wants to be round and correct. Now, he's round and truly soft when he's straight. And so the things that he's working on, which are totally normal baby racehorse things, are, he wants to lean on one shoulder or the other shoulder. He's actually funny because normally I find that they're more prone to falling out the outside shoulder, but with him, actually, he's more prone to falling on the inside shoulder. And he's a little bit of a hypocrite because he finds the left to be his easier direction, or maybe I should say he finds the flexion to the left a little bit easier, but at the same time, actually, I think he leans a little bit heavier on the left shoulder than the right. So it's all just funny. I mean, these aren't problems. They're just where he is in his training and just things to notice and things to be curious about, honestly. So anyway, he did a good bit of trot work there. I was really happy with what he did for me there in the trot. So we're taking a walk break. We're exploring over poles, seeing what he thinks about all this. He was very easygoing and relaxed about it. He was actually very inquisitive about all the poles. He really wanted to put his head down and look, which I encourage. I want them to be curious. And so he was very smart and straight and good about that. And we trotted over some poles today as well. He was excellent. So Julio where you'll see the leaning on the shoulders the most is, of course, in the canter. These things always show up the most in the canter. So you have to find, every horse is going to have a little bit of a different path to get you with what you're aiming towards. So, of course, my aim with him is to get the left lead straighter and more up off the left shoulder. So, I found today, I kind of just stumbled upon this. I think when I was asking him for his right canter and he's wanting to pick up the left, which is a totally normal thing. But I just sort of started riding the counter canter and I realized that I could get him so much straighter and up, standing up off of that left shoulder in counter canter. So I decided to just work the counter canter a little bit, and actually it was remarkable. He does a beautiful left lead counter canter. And so then I just sort of, when I felt like I had him really straight, which I really truly did here in all this canter work, he's just perfectly straight between my legs. So when I had him in a really good spot in the counter canter, we came back across the diagonal to true canter, worked that a little bit. So the counter canter really kind of opened the door to getting him straighter on the left canter when we're actually tracking to the left, which was awesome. So I felt like I had it really nicely around that corner. Also, it's so impressive just that he held his counter canter so beautifully all the way across the diagonal. Now here I feel like you can see right there he's leaning on the left shoulder again. I've lost it. So I'm not going to argue with him. I'm just going to go back to the thing that I just found works really well. We're going to change direction back across the diagonal. And again, I just want to note it's so damn impressive how this horse is just doing this. He's making it look like this is just normal. All horses, 3 post-track rides can do counter canter like this. It's not normal. He's pretty awesome. And now this is really nice and straight up off both shoulders. And he's also starting to feel a little tired at this point. I'm really happy with this turn he just made. It was just super square in between the aids. And he also feels nice and forward in front of the leg. He's making a beautiful shape, all the things. So it felt like a good moment to give him a walk break. He's getting a little bit tired at this point. So we took a little walk break. Now we're going to just change the subject. I don't like to keep harping on the same thing. So before I go back to trying to get the right lead, now we're just going to take a moment to do something easy and hopefully fun and trot over some poles. And he was super excellent about that. He also is feeling tired. I know I just said that, but he looks pooped to me here, and he was. So I'm already in the back of my head. I'm thinking, like, this ride needs to come to a close within the next 5 minutes. So I'm just sort of I've got my little timer on in the back of my head, keeping that in mind. Okay, so we obviously picked up the left lead when I asked him to canter. We got the change over the pole. It was a little bit awkward. I felt like I didn't hold my position the best, so I was a chicken and I cut it out. But got the change over the pole. So obviously we're in the right lead. And so again, it's funny because he'd prefer to pick up the left lead, which again, totally normal, not a problem, just where he is. But he's actually straighter in his shoulders on the right lead, which is just an amusing thing to note about him. So I did think, okay, this is going fairly well in the right canter. Right here, he's leaning just a little bit on that inside shoulder. You can see the haunches come to the inside. So I thought, okay, let me just try one time to come across the diagonal and let's see if we can do our counter canter on the right lead. But you'll see he beat me at my own tricks here. And he just did a perfect change onto the left lead, which was, I mean, it was a beautiful change. And I'm like, well, that was really nice. And you're tired. And actually, he held up his shoulder in that left canter quite well there in that corner, which had been his hardest corner. So it's time to end the ride. He's pooped. He's being excellent. I asked a lot of him today, and I thought he really rose to the occasion. So he's really coming right along. He's a super good boy. Here he is on the ground. You can see that he's just always interacting. He wants to talk to you at all times. He wants to be the center of everyone's attention. He's just a very funny, sort of larger than life horse. But very sweet. I have yet to see him pin his ears or do anything unfriendly. He's just very curious and wants to be involved in the conversation. And actually, he was so tired after our ride today that he laid down this afternoon flat out and took a big old nap. It was very cute.